Hey there folks, this is the Caffeinated Dad coming to you again with another update of Enshrouded, and there is a massive overhaul that is on its way coming with Update 8, Forging the Path. Now, I'm going to cover everything that was discussed and kind of the implications of the game, so make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more Enshrouded content. Here we go. So starting out, something that has been requested a lot to really add flavor to the combat in Enshrouded is heavy attacks. One of the cool things that comes with the heavy attacks is that it is a brief hold. You do have to hold down your attack button for a second, but it charges up the attack and it gives you a little bit of immunity to crowd control and any kind of like stuns against smaller enemies. Apparently it doesn't seem like it's going to work against large enemies, but this is going to give us a unique flavor with each one of the melee weapons. Honestly, a heavy attack is something that has been requested for a while. I'm very excited about it because, again, I'm a melee enjoyer. I like anything that's going to improve the overall flavor of the combat in this game. Now they are adding unique weapon skills, unique weapon attacks, depending on the weapon that you are using. And each weapon is getting a dedicated skill. Now, this is kind of like a builder spender kind of look, as you have to compete in combat. You have to do combat by either doing light attacks, heavy attacks, dodging, what have you, and it fills up a meter down at the bottom. And then once the meter is full, you can trigger this unique dedicated attack. I won't even call it a heavy attack. And it grants you full immunity to stuns and other incoming damage. You deal a lot of damage. It's stronger than the heavier attacks, and it's really got a cool animation. And it's something that I think really just capitalizes on what combat really should be in this game. It really makes it feel a lot more action oriented, which I love, and you could almost have like a little bit of strategic value to that. Now, another change that they have done is the two-handed weapon changes, especially one that they needed to do for greatswords. I felt like the initial greatsword movement was, it felt more too stabby, when a greatsword to me is a huge slices, and they've listened. Most of the main attack chain for the greatsword, it becomes horizontal, whereas the great axe as well as the hammer seem to be more diagonal cross attack kind of movements, which is pretty cool. I like this as just a little touch for, again, melee enjoyers. Now, possibly one of the biggest changes coming to Enshrouded in Update 8 is going to be iframes. So iframes stand for invulnerability frames. It is something that happens when you dodge roll. Previously, it would just essentially move your character's hitbox a certain distance when you dodge rolled out, meaning that if you were still within the range of the attack, you're still going to get hit, even though you dodge rolled out. Now, the iframes are going to offer a brief amount of immunity to damage because you dodge rolled out of the way. Now, there is also some talent tree changes, and I'll talk about that here in a minute, but there are skills that are available there that will help you maneuver behind enemies to deal backstab damage and flanking damage, so to speak. So the iframes become a lot more, we'll say, Souls-like in that regard, as far as offering a brief window where you can't be touched. Now, they've updated some of the upward slashes, the aerial attacks, as well as the downward slams, and the different ways that you trigger them. And previously, I could never land the aerial attacks. It was such a pain, especially when you had the grappling hook being able to pull you to flying enemies. It was always a pain in the neck to actually hit the enemies. Now, it seems that they're going to be looking at reworking this so that it works a lot better and your targeting is a lot more accurate, so that when you do these upward slashes, you're able to hit the target more reliably. Now, to do that, you just need to be in air and tap the attack button. However, for the downward slams, the AoE slams, you have to hold the button while you're in air, and that differentiates between the two different attacks, and that seems to be the direction that they're going. They also are planning a small update for the ledges pathing, is that you can't fall off by just auto-attacking and moving forward, as the attack patterns seem to do, even now. However, you can still just jump off the edge and attack, and once you've cleared the ground, it's basically game over, but that's something that'll be nice, especially when you climb up somewhere high and while you're trying to attack an enemy, you fall off on accident. Now, warping is something that I've noticed, and it kind of ruins the aesthetic of the combat, and I'm so glad that they're changing this. Warping is essentially, as you are going through your attack patterns, the last attack typically carries you a small distance forward, or a good distance forward, to make contact with the enemy. So you don't necessarily need to be near them to start swinging to land the final blow of the attack chain, because it'll teleport you to there. The change that they're looking to do is remove the warping completely from the auto attack chain. So as you're going through, you're only going to be staying within that range of where you are. You're not going to be teleporting to the enemy and covering that short distance. 100% agree with this. I am happy to see that. However, they do add slight warping, especially to that upward slash, so that you can maintain combat and maintain contact against enemies that are flying in the air. The enemy targeting changes that are coming up are pretty actually unique, as you'll be able to target specifically and then move the targeting while still in the targeting window. Currently, it's you target one enemy and then you're attacking, and then you focus solely on that one, and you can't really maneuver very easily to targeting something else. Now it just seems to be once you're targeted, you can slide back and forth with the mouse or the controller and have no problem. The enemies also will be trying to dodge projectiles if they can. Instead of just tanking it to the face, they will try to move out of the way. So sorry, archers. Now, I'm curious to see what they do. They do have some plans to update for stealth players and mages, which stealth players, it's damn near impossible to actually have a stealth playthrough for Enshrouded, because it's just so difficult to sneak up onto enemies and do any kind of damage meaningful. I'm really excited to see what they do with this. That's one that I've been asking for. And they plan on also changing mages, although there is just more to come with that. Now, in the second video that they have just released, they have talked about the new skill tree rework. So when you log in after patch 8 comes through, it is going to be a complete brand new skill tree. It's going to be completely revamped, and you will have to respec basically everything. So keep that in mind before you run off. But they have changed a lot of the skill tree to fit this kind of direction that they're going. Previously, you would select one node, you just put a point to it, and that unlocks the next nodes. You still do the same, however, certain nodes will have a level up capability. You can still get a bonus, but you can improve that bonus by putting more points into that one individual node. If you're familiar, very similar to that of like last epoch. And that seems to be the direction they're going. So you can really make a unique build that fits into where you're at. And without a doubt, one of the first things that I've already noticed, and I love, that double jump is actually included in the main circle of talent. So I don't have to go up and out to athlete to get it done. I can just be right there, bam, no problem. One of the biggest changes that I'm excited about is the gear changes. So they're looking to upgrade armor, as well as the same way that they have upgraded weapons. So you go and visit any of the random crafters that you come across, and you can upgrade your weapons as long as you have the runes and then the legendary runes. Now they are applying the same logic to not only armor, but that of also rings. So that means that you will be able to upgrade all of your armor as high as you want to, or as high as it's capable. Now, its capabilities seem to be oriented around that of the rarity of the gear, meaning that if there's a legendary piece of gear, you can upgrade that more as compared to a uncommon or a rare piece. So if you get a piece of gear, say for example from the Kindle Waste, and you get another piece of gear that's a higher rarity, that piece that is a higher rarity and the first piece are going to be the same as a baseline, but you can upgrade the legendary one further than you would be able to do the one that is only the rare quality. That is something that I like, because then you can create unique pieces of gear, and it seems like it's a little bit more balanced in that regard. And also, thankfully, you'll be able to salvage a lot of the old pieces of gear, so you don't just have to constantly be carrying and filling up, we'll say, precious chest space for all these pieces of gear that you're never really going to use anymore. That makes me happy. Something else that's really exciting is that there is going to be new item perks that are across the board that I am 100% here for. And these perks are very simple and in their delivery, but they're really beneficial when you're talking about build customization. So for example, in the trailer, they show a piece of ring, a ring that has a number of different levels that can be upgraded to, but these particular pieces of gear also increase the skill levels of other pieces of your certain build. So for example, it +1 to wizard, to all skill level of wizard, or 1 to all skill level of thunder, which really allows you to have a super customized kind of build and gear setup, so that you'll be able to handle basically anything that this game throws at you, because you have a custom build that is fit for you. They're also planning on rebalancing a lot of the different armor that we have between magical and physical. Now, it does cover what all of that is, and it shows exactly what it is as you are leveling the piece of gear up. So just keep that in mind, is that it's going to increase other aspects of your just durability, as well as the different pieces of gear being better suited. So for example, the melee tank armor is going to be obviously much better at physical armor and reducing incoming melee damage and range damage. However, the magical armor isn't going to be as strong as compared to that of, say, a thaumaturge gear, which is going to be oriented around the magical aspect of the game. Overall, all of these changes seem like such a massive chunk of quality of life without it actually being like a brand new biome or something added to the game that isn't already there. It's just updating and changing the way that Enshrouded is playing, and honestly, I am super excited about it. But I want to hear what you guys have to say about Enshrouded and where it's at right now. Tell me down in the comments section below. I'm always happy to hear from you guys. As always, stay caffeinated, folks.